Hello and welcome to House Planet Bite Size, the podcast brought to you by House Planet and Housefully. My name's James Varley, the founder of House Planet, and our goal is to share everything you need to know about buying and managing short-term rentals. Today's guest is Sabrina Calnan from bnbExcellent, and she's got 10 expert tips on how to get started with Airbnb. Are you looking to streamline your operations and amaze your guests? Look no further than Housefully. With their top-rated property management software, you can automate reservations, payments, and guest communication all in one place. Plus, their award-winning digital guidebooks provide personalized recommendations and essential information, ensuring your guests have an unforgettable stay while helping you achieve those all-important outstanding reviews. Join the thousands of satisfied property managers who trust Housefully to grow their business. Visit housefully.com to elevate your short-term rental game today. Sabrina, welcome to House Planet Bite Size. Thank you for joining us. You've got 10 essential tips for hosts who are getting started on Airbnb. So take it away with tip number 1.
Yeah, so I think I hopefully have some tips that most people haven't spoken about. Just a little bit of background on Airbnb. Airbnb is just about 40% of the market share in Europe, second only to Booking.com. And then in the US, Airbnb takes the lion's market share at 40%, their top. So I'll be fast here. First tip, brand new host, you can turn on professional hosting tools within Airbnb. And this opens up a bunch of extra options for you as a host that can really give you an advantage above and beyond the other hosts that don't know to turn on professional hosting tools. It's completely free. It's through Airbnb. You can be brand new. You can have only one listing, and you can utilize these tools. Number 2, we hear a lot about what do I charge for my cleaning fee? How many chores should I have? That sort of thing. Well, Airbnb has just made an update, and this will, depending on when this airs, the update will still be fairly new. But Airbnb has made an update where it is showing all-in pricing. So this, I think, is probably more relevant to the US listeners, because I think it was always doing that in most of Europe. But now when a guest goes to book your property, they are unable to see what your cleaning fee is. It's an all-in price. And so I always recommend charge whatever your cleaners are charging, or charge market rate for what a cleaner might be charging if you're cleaning your own property.
Yeah, it's a good point with the cleaning, isn't it? It's a debate that we've had a lot on the podcast over the years, is whether to charge a cleaning fee or not. And
Yes.
Usually people come down on the side of don't charge a cleaning fee, just make sure that your nightly rate covers everything. Because a lot of guests, they don't like to see extra charges on there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard to calculate your, covering your cleaning fee in your nightly rate, because you could have a very long booking and your nightly rate might be overstated because of that. So this all-in pricing, I think, is going to be easier for everybody involved, for both the host and from the guest's perspective as well.
Yeah, this is something that Airbnb have been suggesting they might get rid of cleaning fees for quite a long time. And finally,
Yes.
it seems to be happening. I just want to go back to your first point as well about the professional hosting tools. So what's the difference between somebody who doesn't turn on professional hosting tools and somebody who does? What access do they get if they turn on this feature?
Yeah, so if they turn on this feature, what they will get is they will get custom promotions and custom discounts. They also get greater insights into how their listing is performing compared to other listings on Airbnb. And I think both of those tools are incredibly valuable to helping to respond to your market, depending on your average length of stay. Most stays for Airbnb are between 3 and 4 days, so you can make custom discounts according to that. Do people in your market book last minute? Well, you can do some custom last minute discounts. Airbnb also has something called promotions. And so as a brand new host, you will default to a 20% new listing promotion. And a bonus tip there is that knowing that you're defaulting to that 20% new listing discount, go ahead and utilize that, but increase your price for your first 3 bookings by 20% so that you get the market rate. But after that 20% promotional discount is over, then professional hosting tools allow you to add in custom promotions. Anytime you need to fill in dates, things like that, it's a really great tool to get you ranking higher in the search results. And the goal as a host is to rank as high as you can in the search results, because many areas have thousands of listings. And if you don't get to that top page, you probably aren't getting bookings. So that's the thing to focus on, is getting to that top page in the search results.
Absolutely, yeah. And in relation to pricing, you say that's an interesting point there about the 20% discount when you first join Airbnb, because a lot of hosts will think, well, I need to get bookings and I need to get reviews to kind of get this thing rolling. So maybe I should put quite a low rate to begin with. Mm-hmm. Would you advise maybe don't go so low?
I definitely advise not to go low. So one of the things that Airbnb does is they want you as a brand new host to be successful in the beginning. So not only do they provide that 20% new listing discount to give you a little bit of a boost since you don't have a lot of credibility, they also give you a boost in that search algorithm as a brand new host, because they want you to get that first couple of bookings in fairly quickly. You get addicted to the whole thing and you feel like you're going to be a successful host, so you stick with it. So yeah, you do not need to start with low prices.
Yeah, you're never really more powerful than the start, really, I think, with Airbnb and potentially other OTAs as well, because like you rightly say there, they want you to get bookings. They want you to be a success. And that's why it's so important to set yourself up for success from day one. So Sabrina, then moving on, we've done the first 2 points. So what's tip number 3?
So number 3 is to understand that Airbnb does personalized search results for each guest. So if you search for a property in a certain location and I search for a property in that same location, your search results might be different than mine. And that is because Airbnb is a very technology forward, data-based, data-intensive company. And they know, based on, my profile demographics and the way I'm searching, what will be important to me. And they're putting those properties at the top of my list. So you have to know who your traveler is, and you have to know why they're coming to your market in order to make a listing that is going to rank high on the search results. So I always tell people, do a little bit of research up front before you even start writing that listing. It will set you up for success in making a listing that ranks high in the results.
Yeah, knowing your target guest is so important. If you're appealing to families, if you're appealing to couples, or even if it's kind of workers during the week, having the right photographs and the right listing accordingly is really gonna help you. Especially there, Airbnb has so much data about everybody, and presumably they're basing it on past bookings as well. They know what people have booked in the past and what they're likely going to book in the future. Okay, then Sabrina, tip number 4.
Yeah. So I'll just say one quick thing about those, about your target guest, is don't assume who your target guest is. Do the market research first, because I see that happen quite often. Someone's like, I have a big house. I want to target families because I heard that that's popular now. So do your research before you determine your target guest. But tip number 4 is, and this is a little bit of a controversial tip, but don't use smart pricing within Airbnb. I do find that Airbnb tends to have a price in mind for you, even if you put in a minimum and a maximum, and they tend to get people on the lower side because they want to keep guests happy. I do recommend using a third-party pricing tool, whichever one is right for you. Beyond Pricing is very popular in Europe. Price Labs is also a very popular one, and there's many others out there.
Yeah, I think I would really agree. When I started out with Airbnb, I did use the smart pricing, and I found that it was pretty irregular. It was either out way too high, or usually, like you say, it was on the lower side. It wasn't quite hitting the sweet spot. So yeah, using dynamic pricing is important, and if you can do it from day one as well to help you get your rates right, it's really going to help you maximize your return. So yeah, I think that's a great tip. Okay then, Sabrina, number 5.
Yeah. So number 5 is search your competitor pricing. And there's two ways to do this. Number 1, you can search as a guest on Airbnb for similar properties. Number 2, which I think a lot of people don't realize, is that if you go into your calendar in Airbnb, you can click on any day, and then it opens up the option to look at comparable properties, ones that are booked and ones that are not booked. And so you can see what comparable properties, or what Airbnb thinks comparable properties are, number 1. And number 2, you can see what they're booking at, and the ones that are left. If you're obviously you're clicking on a date that is open for you, you can see who your competitors are that are still available as well.
And how important is it when you're looking at your competitors to see what amenities they have and I guess see how you as a property stand out? Because sometimes Airbnb might say, this is a competitor, and you look at the listing and the amenities and you think, well, not really, because I've got X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important. I think Airbnb gets the competitors wrong sometimes. And with that, going back to using a pricing tool, also don't depend on your pricing tool to recommend your base pricing for you, because none of these pricing tools do a good job of really understanding the way that your listing is marketed compared to the listing next door that's almost the same. And they also may not understand like the nuances of location from one block to the next block can be very different. So it is really important to understand how your property compares to others. And this goes into one of my next tips, which is when you are writing your listing, focus on the items that make your property stand out and that you think will be attractive to guests.
Yeah, so like in the title and obviously in the description, trying to use, I guess, terms that people are searching for. I mean, for example, we've done some work with a property management company in London, and they always say the best amenity is parking, because it's so scarce in London that if you've got parking, put it in your title, put it in your description, because a lot of people are searching for it. So what would be an example really of like a good title on Airbnb, and what are the key descriptive words that you should be getting kind of early on in your description?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on your market. And that's again, we're doing some of that market research in advance comes up. You know, if you're booking in a suburb where there's lots of parking, you probably don't need to highlight parking. So I think that depends on your market. It's always great to read some reviews of your competitors, see what people are valuing. I can tell you one of the biggest mistakes that I see new hosts make is you hear about, naming your property and creating like an individual identity. Well, if you put that name in your title, nobody knows what it means. And it's actually does not help you. I had a client who had this beautiful story of this beautiful family home, and they had nicknamed it the Shack. And she had that in her title. And what she was not getting any bookings. And so we took that out of her title. And I said, it's a beautiful story, but put that in your description. And it made all the difference.
I can imagine it did. Okay, so I think we're 6 tips down. Are we on to the 7th one now, Sabrina?
I am not sure, but the next one I'll give you is that you should use the Insights tab in Airbnb. It's a overlooked tab, I think, but with professional hosting tools on, and without professional hosting tools on, the Insights tab is useful. But you can go into that Insights tab, I would say, once or twice a month, and it allows you to see how your listing is performing. And it allows you to see how your listing is performing compared to other listings in the area. So you can know, basically get some feedback like, is what I am doing correct? Should I make changes? What can I do to better attract guests? That sort of thing.
And if the insights are telling you that maybe you're not getting the visibility that your competitors are, perhaps you're not appearing in as many search results, what are the first things that you should look to change to give you that boost?
Yeah, the first thing I would do is start doing a little bit of research on your competitors and relook at your market as well to see if anything has changed. Because the way the market is, it's always very fluid. The travel industry is very fluid. And so that's the first thing I would do. And I would look at who's doing really well and what are they doing. And that'll give you some hints as to what you should be doing differently.
Okay, I think we're on number 8 then. So here we
Yes,
go.
I think so. I think so. So along with, creating your listing, put something in every single field. So Airbnb will initially, when you create your listing, they will walk you through like a very basic listing setup. And oftentimes they will force you to publish with very little information. So your listing won't be public for about 24 to 48 hours. You can always go back into your listing, unpublish it, and then go into every single field and click the edit button because that opens up more fields. And do that both in your listing tab and in your calendar tab as well, because Airbnb is searching for keywords that the guests are looking for. Your search ranking isn't just based on the filters that people can filter. They're looking for a host that is utilizing every single feature within Airbnb. Those are the ones that rank the highest in the search results.
Yeah, exactly. I think it being detailed and filling in everything that you can shows that you're taking it seriously as well. And
Yeah, yeah,
Airbnb likes to know that the hosts are taking things seriously. Okay,
absolutely.
then Sabrina, tip number 9.
So tip number 9 is respond quickly. Airbnb is watching and they want to promote hosts that are really reliable and really responsive to guests. So, I think in your normal day-to-day life, like maybe you don't respond to your text messages right away. Sometimes it feels like as long as I respond within 24 hours, that's okay. That's definitely not the case in Airbnb. I would say you should make it a goal to respond to every inquiry and request within 15 minutes. Definitely try to do it in under an hour.
Yeah, it's so important. Again, Airbnb is judging you as a host and how you're
Yes.
interacting with the guests. And if you are responding quickly, and there are ways to set up automated responses as well, and this might be a good way to keep up with the algorithm. But yeah,
Yeah.
everything you do is being judged. So yeah, responding quickly is so important. Okay, then Sabrina, 10th and final tip.
Yeah. So 10th and final tip, I think this is low hanging fruit, but start out with those professional photos right away. And the tip about professional photos that I think gets missed a lot of times is Airbnb is different than your regular real estate listing. When someone looks at your photos, you want to evoke a feeling from them because people make purchases based on feelings. And so when you're doing Airbnb photos, hire a photographer that is familiar with vacation rentals because you want a combination of lifestyle, architectural, and real estate photos. You want to evoke a feeling and give people the information they need to know to make a booking.
And how important is it with the photos to potentially theme the property a little bit and make sure there's a consistency in the colors and what people are seeing throughout the rental?
I think good design is incredibly important because people, again, shop with their eyes first. Having a theme, I think, depends on your market where you're located. If you are located, in Paris and most of your guests are, from other countries, then putting some nods to like Parisian culture and things like that definitely makes sense. But setting up the property staged and beautiful and look at those listings that are performing really well. Look at the listings that catch your eye as you're scrolling to take a tip as to how to make sure your property is laid out before you have those photos taken.
Yeah, it's the 10th tip here, but I think probably the most important. I was waiting for us to talk about photographs. I think if you're starting out, it really is just the most imperative thing to get right, because if you've got those bright photos, they're going to appeal to guests, and also it's going to help the Airbnb algorithm because they're not only judging you on replies and how many boxes you fill in with the listing, they are judging you on your photos as well. And if the photos are good, they're going to put you up the algorithm, and more people are going to see your listing. Okay, then Sabrina, in terms of you touched on this a little bit earlier. What are the common mistakes that you see first-time hosts making that people should really avoid?
Common mistakes. I mean, I do often see first-time hosts with the attitude of, I'm going to put the listing up, see how it goes, and then invest in the listing. And you don't want to do that, because Airbnb, as you get started, they're ranking, number one, they're ranking you high in the search results. So they're giving you that bump, and you create sort of an anchor for yourself. And if you create a low anchor in the beginning, it's hard to work yourself up from that. The other thing that I would add to the professional photos, and the big benefit of it, is one of the biggest fears that new hosts have is to get a bad guest. And if you have professional photos, you're putting a professional face forward. People are less likely, who have nefarious intentions, are less likely to book with you, because they know you're professional. They know you mean business. And so that's another way to prevent bad guests. The other mistake that I see very often is people don't go in and they don't make that listing thorough. And oftentimes amenities are missed, because you have to click into amenities and then you have to go in and fill everything in. And it's a bit of a tedious process. Most new hosts, when they publish their listing, land on 10 to 12 amenities. Most of them actually have somewhere between 40 and 60. And Airbnb, that's a really easy data point for Airbnb to look. And I love the way you put it. Airbnb is judging you. Airbnb is watching you, and they're judging you, and they're very judgmental. So be sure to be thorough with it.
They are very judgmental. Yeah. And just think about it from an amenities point of view there. If you've put 12 things in and you've actually got 40, that's something that a potential guest might be looking for. And if you've not added it, you might lose a booking because they think you don't have it, when in fact you do have it. You mentioned before as well, using a dynamic pricing tool like Beyond, of course. Are there any other key tech that first-time hosts should be looking at, or is Airbnb plus dynamic pricing kind of enough to get started?
I think that's enough to get started. Airbnb is pretty robust. I think you mentioned it earlier. You can do scheduled messages within Airbnb. I always tell people the guest experience starts the moment that guest contacts you, not the moment they walk into your property. Airbnb also has lock integration, smart lock integration as well. If you are looking to automatically schedule with your cleaner, you can do that within Airbnb by adding them as a co-host and giving them only calendar access. So as a new host, if you have just one property, I think Airbnb is adequate. I personally, as you grow or as you start to take the business more seriously, I like to use a third-party software, and I don't know if I should mention it. I use Hospitable, and I find it makes hosting extremely efficient, and it's just a little bit more robust than the tools that Airbnb has.
Yeah, Hospitable are one of our major sponsors, so absolutely
So
happy
it's
for
okay
you
to mention them.
to
That's
mention
good.
those guys. No
Yes.
problem at all. Fantastic. Okay, well that's really useful, and I'm sure people starting out on Airbnb will find that incredibly informative as they start their journeys. Sabrina, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business, bnbExcellent, and where people can find you.
Yeah. So I've been in the short-term rental business since 2015. I am a super host. My clients get 95% five-star reviews, and I've helped to onboard as an Airbnb ambassador over 1,000 hosts onto Airbnb. So I really know the platform like the back of my hand. I do consulting, and my specialty is in helping people to increase their bookings without doing the common advice of just lowering your price to get more people in. And that's what I specialize in.
And where can people find you?
So people can find me at my website, and I will give a freebie away for Host Planet listeners. So you can go to bnbExcellent. So that's BNB and then excellent with a T.com and /Host Planet. And you can get a free checklist from me.
All right, excellent. We will put that detail in the show notes along with your other links. Sabrina, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge on Airbnb and for joining us on Host Planet Bite Size.
Thanks for having me. It's been awesome.
Great to chat to Sabrina Calnan there from bnbExcellent. 10 amazing tips to help you get started on Airbnb. Remember, professional photographs are essential, and make sure you get your pricing right from day one. All right, that's it for today's episode. Remember, this series is sponsored by Housefully, and if you'd like to try their PMS or digital guidebook, head to housefully.com. For more free education, tips and trends from the STR industry, visit houseplanet.club, where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen to our podcasts, and download a suite of ebooks for hosts and property managers. That's it for today's episode. Until next time, happy hosting.